Let's get right to it with the guy that called the game on the Rider Broadcast Network with Luke Mullender. Made some time to stay in studio. He's been running around doing a lot of work. Dave Thomas, voice of the Riders, is with us. If you're watching the stream, there you see him. A little bit different in here, hey? Not the chicken nachos and the chicken wings that you're used to about this. About your because you've been 2 weeks, your stomach's probably saying, I need that fix.
You lied to me, man. I thought there was going to be food. What the heck?
Dave, we got our cable canceled this year. Our coffee machine was repossessed. Colson doesn't have a truck or a cell phone. Curtis doesn't have a truck or a cell phone anymore. I think the catering budget was the first thing to get cut. All right. Welcome home, bud. You're not at the Red Zone Sports Bar next to the Travelodge in Saskatoon anymore. Back to reality, bud.
But our training camp reports, because it is still training camp, are brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar, where they're eating all that fantastic food right behind the Travelodge. Dave, we talked about it, in between the 20s. A little bit of a field goal fest. Kind of expected in a preseason game.
A little bit. It was interesting to kind of see how both teams deployed their personnel. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, I would suggest they went ahead and they played their starters sparingly in the first half. And Trevor Harris stayed in maybe a little longer than what we would have thought. And then on the offensive line, Jamarcus Hardrick didn't even make the trip. So it was all about evaluation. There was some great defensive play. Jackson Ford was outstanding for the Saskatchewan Roughriders at safety. There were guys that were making plays, and I think you got what you wanted to see. You got that all-out look that you wanted from the team, and now you can settle in and evaluate.
That's one of the things I wrote down, and I'm listening to the game, and Luke is painting the picture, and you're doing a great job about Jackson Ford playing so good. One of the ones that Luke kind of painted the picture about, especially early in the first half, Marcus Sayles maybe didn't have the day he wanted to as far as tackling and wrapping up.
Well, and that was one of the things that Coach said going into the game, right? It's great that guys can be in the right spot, but now they need to make the play. So Marcus Sayles came out, he made two real quick, real good plays, and then he had a couple that got away from him. So I'm not throwing him under the bus here. He'll be the first one to say, I probably should have had that one. But again, it's the preseason for everyone. He was where he needed to be, and now he'll make the play.
With the starters, and Friday, the big story was both depth charts. Wow, both teams playing a lot of starters, going against the preseason norm of you're the road team. You bring in a bunch of people you've never heard of. You save everybody for that home game. But how you explain that because of the short week and then the start of the season, they need to get some people in. I think a lot of us, because we saw the names of the starters, we expected the production and the points, like mid-season Saskatchewan Roughriders, in the first 15 minutes of Saskatchewan Roughrider football in 2025, which doesn't always work that way. Were the plays there? Was it there from your vantage point? It was just a matter of execution where we're not kicking field goals and we're actually putting up majors?
Absolutely. Right off the hop. Dante Myers is wide open, or should have been wide open, but he was actually tripped by a defensive back. So Dante comes out of his break and he gets his legs tripped as he goes to make a cut on the ball. And having a conversation with Trevor Harris about it, he saw him going down, so he kind of tried to lower the trajectory of his ball, hoping that Myers could get there. But if not, you look on the tape and he was home free. He was gone the distance. So the plays were there. Again, that was a bad one and a pretty egregious one when I've gone back and looked at it 3 times now. But the play was there. The plays are there. And so I don't think there's anything to push the panic button on.
From your lens up there, watching the game, how was the offensive line?
Offensive line created some holes when they needed to, right? They came out. A.J. Ouellette had a massive run. Boy, was it great to see how athletic he looked on that big run. It was 40-some yards that he scampered, made a hurdle at the end of it. So the offensive line did a relatively good job. They didn't give up any quarterback sacks, so they kept the quarterbacks clean all afternoon. So there's going to be some tough decisions there. Like, there was guys that showed well, and they knew what they were going into when they went in, and I don't think we have to worry much about the offensive line. I thought it looked terrific.
When I got a chance to watch and a chance to listen, it seemed like the return game was going well. As one of my buddies texted me that this Tate McRae the Riders have is doing a kick-ass job. And I said to him, I'm like, Tate McRae is a female singer from Alberta. The McRae you're talking about on the Saskatchewan Roughriders is not that person.
No. That's Dre McRae, and Dre is from Texas Tech, coming up, making his professional debut with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He was scouted by Larry Dean, and he's in green and white. And yeah, he was impressive every time he touched the ball.
We do have some audio from McRae, because you had a chance to ask him, if we're ready to go here, on how is the Canadian game different?
It's exciting. It's definitely different, but it is very exciting just knowing you're going to return the ball. It's very exciting. I got to take the fair catch and put it in my back pocket forever. So
what you can hear from him there is that, yes, he had to go ahead and, okay, I can't fair catch this. But the excitement for him is that each and every time he's going to have an opportunity to go ahead and return a football. He's well aware of that. And judging by the speed that he's been able to incorporate into his game, I think that the wider field lends itself to him, and that's what he talked about.
Yeah, I think that was very shocking to me whenever we played, that the gaps are a lot bigger, the field is wider. In America, gaps are this small. You got to go really, really fast to get there, or it's going to close very fast. So,
the one that I guess you guys made it sound, I was like driving, and I'm like, whoa, like how good is this guy? I got to see some clips. I want to see this guy live. That's one thing about the return game that I've always, like, these guys come, the field is so big. Right? Mm-hmm. And practice is different. Your training camp's different. Heck, walking into the stadium, I'm sure, which we'll get to, because a lot of guys were back. They're back in Regina now today. Just that field is so big. It's like a Canadian player going down and playing on an American field or a college field down there, right? It's like, oh, this is tight. I've always wondered, like, how many, maybe mental gymnastics that would be for a guy.
Oh, yeah. You're wide-eyed. You look out at it, and right, what's the first thing you think, right? It's when you play baseball and you see that shift on in front of you. Oh, I can go off field, no problem. This is great. And that's exactly what a lot of them think. But the one thing that set him apart is that he went north-south. He wasn't going east-west. It was always north-south.
And then he had a chance. Did he have a chance to play any receiver on the weekend?
He did not. He took, I believe, a couple of reps at receiver. I haven't got the rep report just yet, but at training camp in Saskatoon, he was making some spectacular catches. Of course, he was there during the rookie camp, and then as camp proceeded, he continued just to make plays. He started as number 33, ended up as number 86 now, and did a fine job.
Yeah, and then because he talks about here in this one how he's progressing in the offense as a receiver after making those nice catches up in Saskatoon.
Just still learning and learning the nuances of the game, the offense in general, and just making the plays when they come.
That Maz, he's the guy. There's every year this time. There's the guy in Rider training camp. Last year for me, it was a Joe. That people are talking about yesterday into Monday, today. Yep. It's like the coffee row right in Alvina today when they were sitting down for breakfast. It was like, well, sounds like we got a pretty good returner.
Everybody loves the next one. Yeah. But that's not just Rider Nation fan base. That's anybody everywhere. It's like everybody loves a great new hit song, no matter what format. You're always willing to add a brand new song that you love into your library. So if it is Dre McRae for Rider fans last year, for me it was Antoine Brooks Jr. and well, as we learned in conversations, his name Dante, but it's Donnie Myers. A couple of guys, I'm like, hey, if we can get these guys on the roster, I think they're going to do real well. Dave, I want to ask you, statistically, he was better, I'm talking Jake Mayer's numbers, than Trevor Harris. How would you assess Jake's play?
Jake came on, he had more opportunities, right? He had more reps under center. He looked comfortable with what he was doing. He was reading the defense well. He understood what the play call was. Like, there was very little confusion. He had so many different substitutions around him. I thought he rose to the challenge, and Yeah, you know what? I don't think he did anything to hurt himself. It's all a progression for him and getting ready for the season. He told us in the pregame show, which of course you can find at sportscage.com, he talked about the idea that, you know what, he understands that he's coming in to be a number 2 for Trevor Harris. He wants to learn from him and also help him so the two can be at their best for the entire season.
So Luke couldn't get to Regina quick enough, as we heard last week, Thursday on the show, that he was going to be playlist, and he was bolting back right off when that plane landed back to Regina. But everybody's back here today, practice today. What can you tell us from practice today?
Well, practice, again, it was an interesting day. It was a windy day at Mosaic Stadium, but there was a lot of guys that came out onto the field because for the first-year players, right, they don't come to Regina. They go directly to Saskatoon. So a lot of the guys were seeing Mosaic Stadium for the first time, and there were some pretty wide-eyed guys as they came out onto the field just exploring and trying to get their bearings of the new stadium, and out of here just absolutely loving everything that's available to them.
Anything from Coach Mace on being back?
Well, Coach did have an interesting comment on his assessment of what it was like returning to Regina, for sure.
You know, I think a couple things. It's good to get everybody into the flow of things, of how we operate, when we're at our home facility. But at the same time, it kind of felt like we were mid-season here. The practice was, I think, some of us lost sight of what we're supposed to be doing out here during this time, and we still got a week left of camp. So, yes, it's good, but I think if don't keep a close eye on it, you can kind of get complacent being back in a place that you're comfortable in.
Now we've talked about him a lot, Dre with an A. This is Coach Mace talking about him.
Yeah, I think just, again, validates his tape. He was an explosive returner in college, and, he was an excellent receiver, at 2 schools. And, I think he showed exactly who he can be in the return game and in the preseason game. And, just him fine-tuning his skill sets as a receiver. I thought he's been progressively better throughout camp. So, again, just a kid that had a couple opportunities, and he made the best of them.
Now, don't forget, there's a pretty good returner on the roster in Mario Alford. Now, to compare the two, Dre McCray in his CFL debut in a preseason game, again, make your own assessment, 4 kick returns for an average of 33.75 yards, 5 punt returns for an average of 9.2. If you look at Mario Alford and you want to compare his year-over-year numbers, in the punt return, Mario in 2024, 10.1 yard average, 2023 11.1 average, 2022 12 yard average on punt returns. For kick returns, 29.9 last season, up from 2023 when he had 23.2 yards per return, and not quite as good as, well, I guess that was better in 2022 of 25.75. So obviously a decision has to be made, so naturally I asked head coach Corey Mace what he's looking for in a returner.
He made quick decisions. He's north-south kind of guy, and he read the blocks really well. And I thought, to speak into the other 11, I thought they did a really good job in giving him holes to see. But he exploded through those holes, and even had a couple opportunities on to finish a run versus I know it's Sergio, but he tried to stand his ground in there, and he finished the run instead of just going straight out of bounds. So he's a kid who's hungry, man. He saw the opportunity for him, and like I said, I thought he made the best of him.
He saw the opportunity for him to hit the kicker. Sorry, I thought that comical.
Yeah. I like your stats and there, but do we have the stats on the financial side of it, the financial savings of maybe going with Dre?
Well, and the fact that if Dre could play receiver and be a returner, where Alfred's just a specialist, and I know that they have tried him at receiver and there are some plays for him, but yeah, it's funny. This is a great game and a terrible business, as Luke always says. And I wonder, sticking with special teams, Joe Couch is back. Was Bailey Flint that bad? Is he hurt? What happened that the Riders brought back in the punter they cut last week?
Well, Bailey Flint hasn't played a game for 2 years. And so Saturday was his first time on the turf in a while, right? And when he was with Hamilton, he did well. But Saturday, I guess, pardon me, it seems like yesterday, but Saturday, it really was a situation in my mind where like he was nervous. He came out, he wanted to make an impression, and the snaps were bang on. Jorgen Hughes got it back to him every single time that he needed to. It just didn't go well for him. There was a couple of kicks off the side of his foot. I think maybe he was trying to place it a little more than what he had thought he had to do in the wind in Winnipeg. His numbers, 40.6 yard punt average on Saturday. Well, you look at Adam Korsak from a year ago, 47.2 yards. Well, Joe Couch has never made a punt in the Canadian Football League, right? He's never dressed for a game. So Joe Couch, they know what they've got in Joe Couch. He was still in Canada being a global punter, so why not bring him in and have a little competition, which they did at the end of camp.
It was last week when we talked about punting and kicking, Dave, and I'm like, Griffith Stadium is a lot different than the bowl in Mosaic down underneath, and Winnipeg would be the same thing. And then you get in the winds, and then you get in the pressure of being out there in a real game. We talked about this. That's one thing that Luke, again, painted the picture early on. He was not happy with the punting.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that don't forget that it's a two-component job. Not only are you the punter, you're also the holder for Brett Lother, right? And Brett went 2 for 3 on the weekend, and, the hold was not an issue in any of them. So it's a dual role, and you want Lother to be comfortable with who's holding for him. So, again, Joe Couch has done it for a year now, too. So you're bringing back familiarity. You're breeding competition, saying that, hey, look, guys, no spot is safe yet until the end of camp, so let's keep going.
What did you see out of the Bombers that you liked?
The defense looked very fast again. Like, I was curious what it was going to look like without Tyrell Ford in the backfield, because, of course, the Bombers didn't intercept a lot of footballs last season, and he led the way head and shoulders above the rest. So it's a young secondary that the Bombers are working on. The other thing that kind of piqued my interest is the number of receivers that aren't back for the Bombers this year. We all know Kenny Lawler, is gone. But we also know Ontario Wilson has gone to the New York Jets. So those are two big guns that they don't have all of a sudden at their disposal. So the Winnipeg Blue Bomber receiving core is going to look different. Now, of course, Nick Dembski didn't dress back on Saturday, so we'll wait and see what it eventually pans out to be. But those were a couple of areas that really stood out for me in that game.
Anybody not on the field today for Riders when they came back?
Jameer Thurman wasn't. He was out for the day today, as was Nelson Lacombo and CJ Rivas. None are believed to be, I don't want to say significant, because that really underplays why they weren't on the field, but none are expected to be long-term injuries, just nicks and maybe a little bit of game maintenance there.
One guy I wanted to ask you about, Tavon Campbell. What did you see from him being back in the game, back in the Canadian game, specifically?
One target, and it was a reception in front of him. He made the tackle on the play, and that was about it. So he didn't get a lot of reps. I think that the coaches are very
cautious.
No, convinced that they know what they're getting with him. So give the other guys an opportunity to come out and make a play, as there still are a number of defensive backs in camp.
Did you think from the Bombers side of things, with a brand new offensive coordinator, with Buck Pierce being gone, that they actually, for week 1 of the preseason, actually looked pretty good and fluid at times?
Well, I don't buy into it's a whole new offensive coordinator idea, and the fact that the offensive coordinator for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers was their running back coach for the last 3 seasons. So he's been within the system. He knows what he's doing. So again, there's a lot being made about it, and what I think might change is maybe the sequence of play calls or how he makes his progressions in game. But I don't think the offense as a whole is going to change a whole heck of a lot, because again, the offense really hasn't been that much of a concern. And when you've got a guy like Brady Oliveira, who was looking great playing in a preseason game for the first time in 3 years, you go ahead and you look at it and you're like, okay, if you can get him the ball and that offensive line can do what they do, you're going to be okay.
All right. Long week stretch. You're back now. You're at practice early. You're a workhorse. That's what you are.
Well, I heard that Western Pizza was kicking around here. That's why I came in. I'm going to be honest.
No. Hey, if we called Spiro, I don't want to bug him. You know what? Luke
O's. I want to get in on this, even though I didn't have any part of it. I still think I should get in on it.
Well, I could share. I'm going to order so much. It will be enough for 2. Oh, Luke, eh? Missed the bet. All right, hour 2, you're going to come back, or maybe we'll let you jet home and do it from there. We're going to talk about more. You got to sit down with one of the coaches.
Yeah, Kent Majuri, the special teams coordinator, going to break it down for you, Rider Nation, as to what he's seen from his kicker, his punter, and his return games.
Saskatchewan Roughrider training camp reports are brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar right behind the Saskatoon Travelodge. Dave Thomas back with us from home, not from the Red Zone this time. Hey, fellas, did you just see moments ago the Saskatchewan Roughriders have signed national kicker Dawson Hodge from Coquitlam, BC, played for the Laurier Golden Hawks. What do you guys make of that?
He was 22 for 28 last year, right? Is that good? 78%? Is that?
Yeah, no, that's good. And what I would submit to you as well, he was with the Toronto Argonauts. He signed there as an undrafted free agent, so he was just released from the Argonauts. And again, that's a familiar story for Canadian kickers. Heck, Brett Lothar had that happen to him at the start of his career, where you kind of bounce around looking for an opportunity. And it sounds to me that he'll come in and get an opportunity. What was the final score on the game on Saturday? 15-9. The Riders missed 2 field goals along the way that could have tied the game. Am I saying that one is better than the other? Absolutely not. I'm just saying, why not explore every opportunity that you can in the preseason? And the Roughriders obviously have done their work on Dawson Hope and are going to take a flyer on him and see what he presents.
Is he brought in more to kick or to punt or to do both, or do we know?
Well, keep in mind, in youth sports, you have a punter kicker, right? You don't have 2 players that take those 2 roster spots. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be one. So it's his kicker. And again, you know what? If you can do both, why not? You're coming into an opportunity. I don't know that we'll ever see a day where there is one player that is the kicker and punter from a team, but never say never, right?
I loved Justin Medlock when he played for the Bombers because he was one position, did exceptionally well at both. And I will tell you a little moment of honesty here. I was never scared last year during Rider football until that game when what did Lothar miss, 14 or 15 field goals? And Luke went off. And he was mad. And I remember being in the booth and I'm like, I'm just going to stand over here when he packed up his stuff and he left and he went downstairs to do the post-game show. He was so fired up. And I'm like, Dave, would you not agree? He was passionate that game about everybody needs competition in their job to keep competition healthy, to keep you sharp and at the top of your game.
He was emotional. Yes, he was. And again, you take it from Luke's lens and the fact that Luke knows the athleticism that is required to kick a ball. But right, there's always that thing in the locker room, or just a kicker, right? And it is one of the most important positions on the team because it can be the difference between winning and losing. And unfortunately, on that night for Brett Lothar, that was the difference for the Saskatchewan Roughriders losing a game to the Montreal Alouettes. Fast forward, though, the rest of his season was absolutely remarkable and off the charts, as he really only misses 1 field goal from then on out, a 60-yard attempt on Labor Day.
Let's keep it going then with specialty. What was that? And then I'm just thinking, what was the last Roughrider to do both? Was it Luca Conji?
Yes, it was. Luca Conji did both in a game.
Yeah. Mario Alfred, we talked about it in hour 1. He's being pushed, Dave.
No, he is. Dre McCray, we've seen Dante Myers, we've seen Daniel Weeb all taking different turns returning kicks, as has Mario Alfred throughout camp. But again, it's a situation that was going to have to resolve itself. So again, go right to the gentleman that sees them the most, and that's the special teams coordinator, Kent Majuri. Coach, back home, even though we're halfway through training camp, what's it like?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's so fun for us to see the eyes of the new players who've never seen it. Nothing wrong with U of S. It's a great facility, but then you come here, you're like, oh wow, all right. So it's like Christmas for us, unwrapping the presents. So you get to see your kids do it. So
Now, you mentioned eyes wide open. I'm sure there were a few of them in Winnipeg over the weekend. How would you assess, pardon me, the special teams play?
I thought they played hard. They played physical. You know, they did what we asked for the most part. It's always a learning experience, especially for the guys down south. The cardio factor is a big difference. And there's no hiding, there's no tapping, you got to go. So, and we talked to them about it, but you don't know until you're in it. So some of those guys were struggling mentally, so they just got to push through. It's fun for me to watch, too, who's got the mental toughness to get through it.
Dre McCray, I thought, had a terrific game returning the football. What have you seen from him throughout camp and even into that game?
He's explosive. He's fun to watch. He's exactly who he thought he was going to be. He can score anytime he touches it. He's dangerous, and he's fearless. And to have a north-south threat like that, all he needs is a little crease, and he's going to make you pay.
And I thought your units did a terrific job of finding those creases for him. What did you see in the blocking scheme?
Oh, yeah, they're doing a great job. You know, they are. They're taking the coaching, the technique, the effort, the details are there. And good thing, you know, KOR I thought was a bright spot for us for sure.
Tell me about your punt game. Bailey Flint has come in. Joe Couch has just been re-signed. Competition is obviously great at this time of year, but what have you got from your punters?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's the same thing. Bailey hasn't played in a couple years, so he's got some rust. He had some nerves, and you kind of expect it. And same with their guy. Wind was a bit of a factor, but not enough to be erratic with the ball. So, you know, we hold the guys to the high standard, and the ball needs to go where we need him. But he's getting better every day, which is great, which is progress. We brought Joe back to compete, and that's the same thing. Get better and be consistent for both of those guys.
Brett Lawther has got a new holder, whomever it may be.
Oh, yeah.
What do you have to do to talk to your kicker and form that chemistry between holder and kicker?
It's reps. It's repetition, because it's a big difference for sure, depending on the holder, the snapper, all of it. And Jorgen is elite, so we get the laces pretty much about 95% of the time where it needs to be. But then getting it down on the tee, you know, with the correct lean on the right spot, because 1 inch, 2 inch variance is a big difference on where that location's going to go. So, you know, it's they got to work together and get tons and tons of reps.
Matter of inches. I think that goalpost was too wide in Winnipeg. That was my assessment.
Oh, yeah, I agree. You know what? No, I don't care if it goes. I mean, you do, but you want to see him strike the ball well.
Yeah.
And that was the best ball he struck. And it hit the upright. It is what it is, but at least he hit it well. The other one that went in, I was more disappointed at that because of his technique.
You're a perfectionist, Coach.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Would have been a tough day to practice any kind of kicking in Regina today, which is good because you're going to see those in games. Like it was windy here today. It's going to be windy here tomorrow, Dave. I'm sure you'll see it down there in that bowl.
Absolutely. And you know what I thought was really remarkable when it came to Bailey Flint and the kicking that he was doing up in Saskatoon is, and I'm going to make a golf analogy, right? So you're 100 yards out or whatever. What are you going to use? A wedge, Barney?
56 degree or 60. Wedge.
Good choice. Okay. So you bring your wedge out, right? And you practice over and over and over with that wedge, trying to land the ball in the exact same spot. And I remember one practice in particular, the wind was gusting, and literally Bailey was kicking the ball from the far sideline, and he started it towards the 50-yard line on the right side of the midfield. The ball would end up on the 49 on the other side as he was playing the wind, but it did it over and over and over again. And of course, we would wish to be that good and consistent with our wedges, but that's exactly what it was. And unfortunately for Bailey, it just didn't transform into what had to happen during the game.
Yeah. So we talked in hour one. We're going to talk about more in hour three. People are just tuning in. Dre McCray, he did great. I thought Trevor Harris. I thought maybe like 1 or 2 series. He ends up playing longer than I thought. You know, a little bit of rust, which is expected, I guess. Remember last year this time when I was confused. I'm like, Winnipeg didn't play any veterans in the preseason, and then they kind of stunk early in the season. You know, they picked it up. What are you guys thinking going into this weekend? Do you think that we're gonna see a lot of vets again, like the Harrises, the Olets, all that, or at home are they gonna maybe go a different route?
For me, I would venture in and give you my opinion, but my opinion is so wrong because The football operations department is way smarter than me, quite frankly. I didn't think that we would even see Trevor Harris playing in Winnipeg, but then it started to dawn on me that, hey, you know what? Really, when you look at the schedule moving forward, it is a compressed schedule for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, whether you're looking preseason to preseason game like the Riders are playing, of course, 6 days in between, or even to the game 1 of week 1 in the regular season, there's only 5 days there, right? So you want to be at your best in week number 1. So I think that what happened is that Trevor Harris was told, okay, you go out there and you play, you get comfortable, you tell us when you're ready, and we're going to take you out probably sooner than you tell us that you're ready. So he's got his feel, he's got his understanding. And now when we get down into Regina here on Friday, which is where I am, good thing I remembered that. But when we get to Mosaic Stadium on Friday night, when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers roll into town, I think you're going to see a lot of different battles for positions. So if you're on that bubble, I think you need to make the most of the reps and the playing time that you're going to get, because a lot of the veterans, I think, are pretty well set as far as being ready to go and knowing what they need to do to be ready to go when the regular season opens a week from Thursday against Ottawa.
What do you think, Maz, quickly?
I think Mace has enough respect for somebody like Harris, who's played a lot of football. Hey, do you need reps this game? Do you feel in the groove? Because it's go time next Thursday. If he says, yes, I need it, then he's playing. If he says, no, I think he's not. And then Mace, that's one less body that Mace has to worry about. But I think it's a respect thing for, I would say him, Micah Johnson, Jameer Thurman. Are you guys good? Okay, we're good. All right, you're out. Or you're in? You're in.
Well, interesting question to ask Darian Durant after 5 o'clock. Thanks, Dave. You're back in hour 3. We'll hear from you in hour 3 again. Thanks so much. It's our Rough Rider training camp reports. They're brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar right behind the Saskatoon Travel Lodge. Daily specials that we heard about over the last week. Makes a guy hungry.